Guys, first off, hi. Second off, I hope you, yes you lovely person watching this, you so beautiful and charming, have a wonderful day today. And third, we're getting more DLC fighters. The recent Nintendo Direct has come and gone. We got Banjo, we got a teaser for Terry Bogard, but the biggest surprise is that Sakurai, this lovely man, has decided, unless Nintendo pulled a knife to his throat and forced him against his will, it's possible that once the Fighter's Pass ends, we'll still be getting DLC. Whoever's the next character after Terry, isn't it, people? This is insane. We don't even know how many more are coming or for how long, but the fact Smash Ultimate is still going to get characters is astounding, and the potential surrounding what kinds of characters and the amount for now is crazy. Sakurai won't do a Famitsu column until this Thursday, so we don't know exactly what standard or basis was set for this next wave of DLC. We don't know if it'll all be third party again, we don't know if they'll toss first parties in the mix, a mix of both, if there will be a Spirits Pass, an Echo Fighters Pass, an Assist Trophy Pass, among other things. Sakurai commented on the aspect of Smash Ultimate likely being the only time they'll ever introduce this many game worlds again, but we don't know if this equates to the future DLC post-pass being all third party again. This could likely highlight the fact that Smash Ultimate is without a doubt the grandest crossover in video game history. With Terry in the mix, we have 14 third-party characters in this game. We currently have 80 playable characters in Smash Ultimate, with Terry being 81. Smash introduces an absurd number of franchises from a variety of games between playable characters, stages, assist trophies, items, music, costumes, spirits, etc. I'm sure we'll get third-party characters still, but I'm 99% sure that comment during the Banjo showcase wasn't that indicative of what kinds of DLC characters we could be getting, if at all. Given Sakurai and his staff have been getting good at gauging fan requests, and Nintendo executives themselves requested a pass of characters they selected themselves, which is almost done, I'm willing to bet the selection process will be similar to the base roster of newcomers. I believe future DLC, post-pass, will be based on popular characters again, and we'll get a mix of first and third parties again. I feel like we'll know for sure this Thursday when Sakurai touches on it further, if not then, maybe later in the future, but until that time comes, I think the floodgates reopened as it sounds like damn near anything's fair game. But then that begs another question. How many DLC characters will we get? I've seen people speculate at minimum 3 to be on the safe side, while others think 5 or higher. I'm in the 5 camp. I feel like we'll get another 5 characters like the Fighter's Pass. However, there is a theory of how many characters we may be getting. I forget when specifically this happened, either around Piranha Plant's release or around patch 3.0, but there was a data mine of 16 extra fighter slots found in World of Light, with Piranha Plant taking up a slot, which would equal 15 left over. Assuming this Fighter's Pass's fighters took up 5 more, there's a possibility of there being 10 left, which would mean the roster could equal 92 if this is remotely true. And then there's the idea of Smash Ultimate being the Switch's best cash cow. The Switch is still a very young system with many years ahead of its life, and Smash Ultimate is obviously the Switch's most marketable game. With Smash Wii U, the DLC ended on the Wii U's final year because the Wii U was dying, whereas the Switch has been and is still extremely successful. Nintendo could ask Sakurai to ride out the DLC train until near the end of the Switch's life for all we know, just to keep it buzzing. Or out of the fact that we keep getting closer to 100 characters, and Sakurai loves emphasizing how much work he goes through ever since Brawl, only to keep making more characters in Smash games, maybe we'll eventually actually hit 100 characters if we're lucky. We don't know. I'm still going to expect 5 just to be safe, but the amount of characters at the moment is ultimately, no pun intended, unprecedented. Even if we have those 10 extra slots from World of Light, even if Sakurai or Nintendo choose to add even more beyond that, we have to wait and see. So then that leaves the what. What kind of characters are possible for this future DLC? Any specific first or third parties, spirits, assist trophies, what can we expect? Are there any rules at play? At the moment, nothing. First and third parties have been the norm for Smash newcomers since 5 years ago, and many expectations have been subverted and gone against since. He's too big, he's too irrelevant, he's not a Nintendo brand anymore. Even Sans became a Mii costume because of his overwhelming popularity, despite he's just a meme. They outright made a Sans model for the costume, which practically borderline equates to the character feeling like he's here, because Sakurai acknowledged there was a swath of fans who genuinely wanted him in. But the Impossible Crew, which people define Ridley, King K. Rool, and Banjo-Kazooie, have enforced whatever rules, reasons, or statements made, whether by Sakurai or by fans, can become mute if the demand is popular and loud enough. Not childish or grating levels of loud, mind you, but just letting their voices be heard of wanting this character in. Relevancy doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. Whoever owns the IP doesn't matter. Many of these conceptions boil down to fans and their own feelings, either against certain characters or in favor of their own. Most of these came down to biased narratives fans have been wanting to push, minus a few exceptions of Sakurai stating X in the case of Ridley, or misinformation. With DLC, anything goes. Almost anything can happen. I even feel like Spirits being deconfirmed is among that biased narrative category because it's in bad faith. That was never mentioned anywhere. That was never a confirmation. Never was it officially stated Spirits deconfirmed characters. Sakurai's intention for Spirits was to facilitate the lack of resources developing models to make trophies, essentially replacing them, as well as simulate fights using a large variety of characters instead of making figures for a single player experience. Incorporating hundreds of characters into the game without making them a fighter is the same concept trophies had, minus being figurines. Not to mention there are hundreds of Spirits here who were also trophies in the past, i.e. turning Camilla, Alm, Vi, or Dixie Kong into a spirit or trophy likely never had the possibility of them as a fighter be a huge factor. We have items, power-ups, and objects as trophies and spirits that likely had zero potential as a combatant anyways. Not to mention, going off the fact that spirits replaced trophies, don't forget Lucas and Mewtwo had trophies in Smash 4, and then they ended up becoming DLC regardless, and got brand new trophies to come with them. Logically, spirits never deconfirmed anyone. The basis for the Fighter's Pass was chosen by Nintendo, and that was the only thing getting in the way of spirits being playable. Whether or not the fact the character was a spirit or not had nothing to do with it. But, let's pretend I'm wrong. Pretend I'm creating mental gymnastics for a minute here. Let's assume Sakurai and Nintendo cared that much about attaining Smash lore as it is with spirits, and going off that logic, spirits themselves are different in that they do challenge a character's probability as a DLC fighter. Consider this. Regardless of the various King K. Rool spirits not being the specific King K. Rool in Smash, that's still the same character. All three King K. Rool spirits are still spirits of K. Rool himself. It doesn't matter if it's a different iteration of K. Rool, but with a different outfit. Same case for Mario, same for Kirby. Take a popular pick that is a spirit, like Geno or Dixie Kong for example, and if they were that worried about jeopardizing his/her spirit because they have one, assuming they care about that, you're saying they can't just slap a hypothetical new render of Geno as his fighter spirit to say, this is the Geno in Smash? Final Fantasy has super limited representation in Smash, but the only spirits it has are the two Cloud Fighter spirits, which are his in-game renders opposed to his Smash 4 or original Final Fantasy renders. Same for Pokemon Trainer, Wii Fit Trainer, and Robin. You have normal Kirby on multiple spirits from his own series, the Star Rod and the Warp Star spirits. It's not really a contradiction or an issue with adding X spirit as playable if they just add a new fighter spirit for them after making them a character. It's as simple of a fix as Mewtwo and Lucas. Or they could just take the existing spirit, change that as the character's fighter spirit, and then add a new render or a pre-existing render as the current normal spirit. They have alternatives for this, and even then, spirits are just PNGs of video game characters. Would a PNG seriously cause Nintendo or Sakurai to hesitate on pushing a character to be in Smash because a PNG of them is already in the game, when they can either pull from a pool of multiple pre-existing ones, depending on the character, or make a new one and call that its fighter spirit, and potentially change the name of the pre-existing one? Again, an easy, simple fix. This is why I feel like Spirits never deconfirmed anyone, because it was never stated to do so. The basis of the Fighter's Pass likely had nothing to do with Spirits, and they have methods and ways of solving issues or questions with making a spirit playable. But then, I'll be the first to ask this question. What about assist trophies? With assists? It feels like the Ridley scenario all over again. What I mean by this is because Sakurai stated Ridley was too big and he'd be too difficult to program as a fighter due to his size and whatnot. Many people believed, reasonably so mind you, that Ridley was never going to be playable. This was mentioned at the latest during Smash 4's development. But that's the thing. That was during Smash 4, where he felt it was impossible. Sakurai's made statements that went against characters back then that he just contradicts and makes them a fighter anyway in the future. He mentioned in Brawl how difficult it'd be to program Pac-Man or the villager from Animal Crossing as fighters because they don't fight in their games. One Smash game later, they both become newcomers. Even with statements Sakurai's made, he's changed his mind multiple times before, mainly because of popular demand. The assist trophy statement was made during Smash 4, so for all we know, especially since DLC's an afterthought and Sakurai's got a better hand at which characters are very popular, even this far in the game, the idea of assists remaining assists may change because DLC existing and the ridiculous fan demand. What's more is look at Chrom. In Ultimate, he's part of Robin's final smash, yet he's also a playable character. You can have a non-selectable Chrom beat up a selectable Chrom, as the selectable Chrom claps with the non-selectable one on the victory screen. You get my point. And it doesn't matter if it was due to laziness or resource preservation, that's still two separate different Chroms with different roles present in the game. The logic of an assist being playable is very comparable to that. But once again, let's assume I'm making even more mental gymnastics. I'm making some BS up just because of my desperate want for Shadow the Hedgehog, and assume they didn't want to repeat this circumstance with assist trophies. Let's take Isaac for instance, right? Because he's an assist trophy. Sakurai wants to add him in, but he's an assist, and he doesn't want both a playable Isaac and the assist Isaac side by side. They have the power to program certain assist trophies appearing under certain circumstances. The moon for Majora's Mask. It doesn't appear in battle if you're fighting on Great Bay. They could do something similar by programming the assist trophy Isaac to not appear if someone picked the playable Isaac. I doubt it'd be that difficult of a process to undergo, similar to the Spirit's deconfirmation debate. The reason I bring up assists is because other than non-game characters being excluded, the assist trophy rule's the only prominent rule I see people still using, despite plenty claim they'd open up to the idea if they announced the second pass, which they have. Personally, I say keep the idea in check. Assists have a lower shot than other characters based off precedent for sure. You have plenty of reason to still think assist trophies still are exempt, even with the power of DLC. I'm not trying to say you're wrong or stupid in thinking so. I'm just saying, A, don't completely count them as it's not a guarantee, and B, don't be a dick to people who want any assist trophies in. It's a video game. Please don't pretend you're saving your family tree's honor or some dumb crap by making fun of people who want Bomberman or someone else in, because they're just as valid as you and anyone else. Personally, I feel the bar for this DLC is the non-game character rule, in that the character has to originate from a video game. No manga characters, movie, comic, etc. characters that started as that. Could this change this DLC? It could. It could change in the future for all we know. The only thing, which is ultimately subjective at the end of it, is not only did Sakurai explain why non-game characters like Goku or SpongeBob were exempt from being considered, it goes against what Smash is supposed to be. This amalgamation of gaming's greatest icons and characters in all these video game franchises. Pokemon and Castlevania have animated series, but they've originated as video games. They're games first and foremost. Adding Shrek or Bugs Bunny would ultimately clash with Sakurai's and Smash's character philosophy. That's my take though. I feel non-game characters are the bar as for who can make the cut. Otherwise, it seems anything else is fair game. Lots of first and third parties, spirits, and even assist trophies, or at least a handful of them to a certain length, have a second chance now. Rex and Pyra have another chance at being playable since they were considered too late into Ultimate's development span. Geno has been a popular request. Maybe his time to shine is much more imminent than we think. Crash Bandicoot is another one, and he'd likely have his debut come soon too. Banjo-Kazooie was a lot easier of an addition than everyone thought. Maybe the same could happen with Sora from Kingdom Hearts. They could pull a Cloud and only represent the Kingdom Hearts specific characters and stage and keep any Disney characters and Easter eggs out of the picture due to another licensing nightmare, not just the non-game character thing. Paper Mario with his partners as special moves, Impa from Zelda as a nimble assassin or sword wielder, Doom Guy if we're lucky, Rayman, the Raving Rabbids, Bandana Waddle Dee, Spyro the Dragon, Dixie Kong. Maybe my bias will be blessed and we'll get Viridi. Hell, for all we know, they could cave in and add an assist trophy as playable, and Waluigi fans may get a bone thrown at them. Or Shadow, but that's also my bias showing. But that's the beauty of this announcement. The speculation's back. It's almost like Ultimate was first announced all over again. There's so many possibilities for DLC to come. I didn't even bring up the possibility of us getting more old and new stages in music and such with either these third-party or first-party newcomers. Sakurai said Home Run Contest was quote-unquote pretty much the final new mode, but even that might not be a guarantee. So many ideas and possibilities are on the table now that Ultimate's getting more DLC, which is exciting. Do you think there are any rules or limits set with this DLC or no? Any points you feel I made fell flat, or am I valid with the reasons I've made? What characters do you want to see in the game? Any tangible or impossible characters you'd want to see? Tell me why. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my DLC newcomer predictions video and other Smash related content. Stay super.